All right, thanks. They said that if I can get some music to start, and I was like, I got to take advantage of that. So some of you absolutely know what that song was. Some of you probably like, what the heck is that? Which makes this appropriate for the lecture that I'm doing, which has to talk about multi-generational teams. So again, X, Y, Z, and boom, multi-generational teams. Also, we know that there is at least 5 generations in this workforce. You'll see why we're going to focus on the 4. So first thing I'm going to start off with is a disclaimer. This is my bulldog, Jack. So I don't know if you've ever seen Jack. And if you haven't been judged by a bulldog, you have never been judged before. But I am not Generation Y or Z. I know you're shocked. Okay, maybe you're not. Okay, I'm not. But what does that mean? And what it means is this, is that I will have an inherent bias. This is my generation. Generation X. Any Generation X in here? Right? We were the Pac-Man, Run DMC, Prince, Kurt Cobain. We were the first generation to have computers in the room, but it was like 4 of them and you couldn't touch it, right? We were the generation of the latchkey kids. So if you don't know what a latchkey kid is, let me explain this to you. So our parents, when we were in first grade, they would just go to work. And you would get a key attached to a shoestring because we were not well off, so we had a shoestring. Some people had a chain, and that key was to allow you to go in and out the door on your own. That meant your parents found it more important to keep their home things secure than you. They were like, you were free to walk around, but your house was locked. So we would come home by ourselves and get in the door. That's a latchkey kid. And what I can tell you is that generation and exactly what we did as latchkey kids helped lead who we are as a generation. But the main point I want to say is you probably noticed how excited I am when I talk about Gen X. You're probably doing the same thing. It's an inherent bias. It leads to also where you think my generation's better. It's because it's the one you came from. It's the one you're proud of. So I want you to think about this as we're going in. And as you're talking about folks of different generations, you may and most likely will have a bias. And that bias is towards your own generation. Okay? So, how about some folks here that are very young? Anybody here under 25? Yeah, give them a hand. All right. I'm going to come over here while I talk about these kids. So I don't know if you guys know, they have no respect for their elders. Our country's doomed. We're doomed because of, they're just if they're in charge, we're done. They don't understand how to work. They also have no work ethic. I can't believe this music they listen to now. You hear it, right? On top of that, they're on their phones all the time, right? They can't stay off those phones. They're always looking for money. They are not dedicated to the workplace. They're just flat out lazy. What if I told you that was what our parents said about me? And the only difference is the phone part. It was a phone attached to a wire that went all the way down to the bottom of the stairs while you're trying to talk to a girl, and then you get it snatched out you, and your parents say, get off the phone. But again, every time when you talk to folks will say, oh man, these kids. Oh man, these kids. But have you taken the moment to think at one point you were these kids? Nothing on there is not what my parents said, but probably exactly what you're saying about the generation that's coming now. But we can't lean on that. And the reason why we can't is because the workforce. Everyone here knows that we're struggling from a point of workforce, struggling to get employees, especially here in Delaware. This came from the Department of Labor. And this is the breakdown of how many people we need by 2030, right? So if you look into finance activities, we need another 900 people by 2030. Healthcare and social assistance, 14,920. If you look at transportation and warehouse, we need about 2,250. Professional and business services, 3,660. And that is in addition to what we have now. So that means by 2030, you're hoping to get that many more, plus keep everyone you have. No one retire. So if you walk into it saying this generation is no good, that generation is no good, you are going to end up closing your business because you're going to have no employees. I even take it further. So my background is in healthcare. I started off as a medic in the Army. Any Army guys in? All right. Yeah, in the Army, and then after that, became a respiratory therapist. Respiratory therapist, the number is 150. We need 150 more respiratory therapists here in Delaware. That sounds easy, right? Well, do you all know that we only have 2 respiratory schools in this entire state? And one of them is Deltec North. The other is Deltec South. Deltec North puts up about maybe 5 to 10 RTs a year. South program, 15 to 20. I'm on both of their advisory boards. And in the South, a good amount of them go to Maryland because they're near Tidal Health. So that means probably about 10 per year. So 5 years, that means maybe 50. We need 150. That's assuming not a single respiratory therapist retires, resigns, or changes career. So you absolutely have to be careful when you're talking about your generation to know about them in order to keep them. So here's the breakdown when it comes to the different generations. So Gen Z, you're at 27%, and we'll talk about exactly what this means. Boomers, 12%. Gen X, 27. Millennials, 34. The millennials are the majority. And believe it or not, this talk started off as what millennials really want from their managers. I did it 10 years ago. And that was when we were like, oh, the millennials are coming. Well, now the millennials are the boss, right? They are the majority. And the reason why they're a majority has to do with growth and birth rates. And, the silent generation came back from World War I, had a whole bunch of kids. That was the baby boomers. The baby boomers were actually the first group to be impacted by divorce. And also got to grow up with like 12 siblings and said, I don't want to do that. And the concept of 2.5 kids and a dog came out and everybody had 2 kids. And so my generation, Gen X, dropped. And then we said, hey, well, I grew up by myself. Millennials went back up. And it's a trend that the generation, which Alpha, which is the next one, is actually going down. So you have to be, they're the majority, especially if I'm a Gen Xer and I own the business. I am not going to be part of the majority. So you have to be aware of that. The silent generation is at 0 to 1%. So the silent generation is a lower percentage, but they're still in the workforce. And we'll talk about how we utilize it. So what we're going to do is to show you a few generalizations, and we're going to identify each generation. But the key is we're going to talk about what they do, and then instead of just sitting here and looking at data, which there's tons of Pew's data to tell us exactly what, I actually text people that I knew that from each generation, just ask them, what do you want from your manager? So we get to hear that, and then I'll give you a little advice on how to lead that team. So how about baby boomers? Any boomers in here? Raise your hand, boomers. Be proud. Come on, give them a round of applause. Boomers. This is our 1946 to 64 folks there. So these are the things. Work ethic, highly dedicated, work-centric, goal-oriented. This is the first generation to come up with the workaholic thing, right? That was the parent that went and you work all day, right? They adapted to technology later in life, so it takes a little bit longer, but they value security, stability, and long-term employment. I remember when I left from Nemours Children's Hospital to go to Christiana Care, and I told my dad, hey, I got a job. I'm going to go to Christiana. And my dad said, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a promotion. He said, but you have a good job. Why would you ever leave a good job? And that's because dedication and longevity was important to him, and going somewhere else was like unheard of. And it was actually a good move for me because I ended up working in both places twice. So financially, tend to be financially secure, focus on saving for retirement. This is also the group that's like, when you talk to when my father was alive, he'd say, yeah, man, bought this house for, $50,000. Yeah, well, what'd you sell it for? $500,000? That don't happen anymore, right? So, in communication, I prefer direct communication. I always can tell I have a boomer mentor that when I will text him, hey, X, blah, 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 yes or no? And then he would call me. I'm like, I don't want to talk. He'd call me, right? So that's the generation prefers the in-person or phone, right? But the focus is loyalty, job security, and hierarchy. So you have to make sure that these folks understand. You do a RACI chart to make sure you know what everyone's role is. So won't take that for I sent some text messages. Hey, baby boomer, with your generation in mind, what do you want from your manager? This person said, I will crawl through fire for a manager who respects me in person. I'm not crawling through nobody's fire, by the way. Acknowledging that I can make a meaningful contribution through my knowledge and life experience. Trust me to make good decisions. Help me balance my work life. Ask another one. Hey, baby boomer, what do you want from your manager? This person said, I want a manager. Okay, we lost half of that. I want a manager that can trust me and also is be able to support me with the things I do. The thing to keep in mind with the boomers, this is what you want to do. So baby boomers want the ability to share their wisdom. There is a difference between wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge you can get from your phone. Wisdom takes time. And I can tell you one of the most valued people in my department when I was there, we had a gentleman who 43 years as a respiratory therapist. And I did everything I could to put every student with him. And he loved it. Loved it. I even gave him a shorter assignment. That's how you utilize him. He actually that was, 12 years ago. And he retired after doing 50 years as an RT. That's where you want to see your boomers. Your boomers are dedicated. And if you spend time and let you make sure you recognize their wisdom and knowledge, they'll walk through fire. Again, I'm not walking through fire, but they will. Okay? Gen X. Where's my Gen X folks? Where are my peeps? Gen X. Oh, man, yeah, you can see. Not the majority, right? So Gen X, independence and resourcefulness. This came from the latchkey, right? We're just used to being out on our own. We were feral. just out on our own doing whatever, right? So, so we seek work-life balance. First generation to grow up with computers. So we grew up with them. So we had to learn to adapt each time to this computer, right? But also, I would say you can tell I'm a Gen X because I have an iPad, but I still have an app that allows me to use a pen to write in cursive on it. Totally makes no sense, but that's my generation, right? So first gen to come up there. We value flexibility, diversity, and independence. We're skeptical, very skeptical of things. We're also the generation that started to see divorce. So we were the first ones to start seeing divorce because the skepticism come. Financially cautious, got to see some crashes. And communication, straightforward communication via email or phone. We like independence, adaptability, and also work-life balance. So what does that mean? So I asked a Gen Xer, hey, what do you want from your manager? This person said, I want transparency with information, honesty about the situation and my performance, timeliness, especially for important items, feedback, mentorship without micromanagement. I want feedback. I want mentorship, but don't micromanage me. Please, stay back. I'll call you when I need you. Yeah, and I use myself as an example. I had a boss, we had multiple generations working for her, and everyone else met with her weekly. I said, I'll meet with you monthly, and then if I need you, I'll call you, right? 100% my generation, okay? So this person says, I want my manager to let me learn and grow within my role and be able to represent the department. I want to be able to show expertise. I want to be recognized for my wisdom and teach others of what I've learned over the years. So how do you lead a Gen Xer? Number one, provide them with a little bit of independence. Allow your Gen Xer to share their wisdom. You want to allow your Gen Xer to also receive feedback, and they prefer it to be direct, not indirect. You know the circular talk, right? Yeah, I will often go, all right, just tell me the thing, right? Because especially for me, I'm third generation military, third generation Army. My grandfather was in the Army, my dad was in the Army, and I was in the Army, and my brother. So I was just used to absolutely, thank you. So I was used to direct feedback, and so that's very alike to my generation. How about our millennials, the majorities? That's right, y'all. They took over, right? So this is when you start to see the switch. Go from individuals in the boomers and the Gen X to now more team-oriented, and they also want to know about meaningful work. You kind of spoke of that, right? Meaningful work, not work for work. What does it mean to me? Sell me your mission, your vision. Sell me those things, and then I'll be even more engaged. But I want the team part. They're digital natives. They know social media. They're always connected. They value diversity, inclusiveness, and also experience over possessions, right? Somebody's clapping back there. Go ahead, you can clap for that. Yeah. So the experience part is interesting, right? What does it like? And I look at this and you see like some of the millennials will spend the money for the experience versus hold back from it. Financially, though, struggle due to student debt. I did a quick look up this morning. University of Delaware, 1990, cost $6,000 for out of state. It is over $40,000 now. That is a 600% increase in 35 years. That is a debt that generation has that no one else will, that the generation before didn't. 600%. I looked at my college. It was a 240% increase. I went to school in Pennsylvania, Millersville University, but it was 600% is a lot, right? So they were the first ones to take on this debt that the generation before didn't have. They prefer digital methods also, but also value face-to-face if it's something serious. Something serious, I want to talk to you, but digital, we're good. So tech-savvy, team-oriented, and seeking work-life balance, right? So if we asked, what do you want from your manager? This person said, I want a manager to give me good constructive feedback and help me become a better communicator. Feedback. This person said, I want you to share the vision. And how it fits with me. Have a vision that speaks to the greater good and includes me in figuring out how to get the mission accomplished. So, mission, feedback. And I don't know if you noticed, I've been highlighting all the ones that are around feedback. Last, Gen Z. These are our younger folks. Where's our Gen Zs again? There we go. Gen Zs are coming. And let me tell you, this is the thing that I find very, very, very intriguing. They are entrepreneurial in spirit. You will never find a group that has more businesses in your life. You will meet a Gen Z. How old are you? 23. Oh, yeah. So what do you do? Well, I got 2 for-profits, 1 nonprofit. I'm also one of the. They are business savvy entrepreneurs. No, I access. When I was that age to get a business, I had to get a lawyer to set up an LLC. I had to get a lawyer to do this. Now they just go online. They have it, right? So the access is what done it. And then the technology, they're true digital natives, grew up with it. So they can navigate it way better than I could ever do that, right? And they value authenticity, transparency, global issues, social justice, all those things. But the one thing that's not on there, and you mentioned it a little bit, mental health is where it changed. This generation is teaching us a lot about your mental health at work, which is extremely important. You want to talk about productivity, you want to have someone very productive, have them be in a good space from a mental health standpoint. Let me tell you how that changed. Respiratory therapist, I just graduated. I'm in the pediatric ICU, right out of school. 2 months in, I have a really sick kid I took care of for 3 days straight, 12-hour shifts. 3rd day, kid passed away. I took care of this kid. I literally learned everything that I know clinically. I put him on every device we had. And I was working with a boomer that was my mentor at the time. And he said, all right, Joel, that was real. That sucked. What I need you to do is go to the bathroom, get yourself together, because we have to get back to work in 20 minutes. So here I go. I walk in the bathroom. I stand there in the mirror. And I just stood there for 5 minutes because I'm a military man. And he gave me an order. I had no clue why I was in the bathroom. I was like, did he hear my stomach bubbling? What happened? Like, why did he send me to the bathroom? I had no clue why he sent me to the bathroom. But to him, that was how you took care of your mental health after the death of a kid that you took care of 3 days. This generation will not have it. And because of that, we've learned a lot in healthcare. I actually did a study that looked at mental health and looked at actually PTSD type syndromes for people in the healthcare space and for respiratory therapists in particular. 85% of them actually have it and 100% had, right? So this generation is going to demand that you provide them with the space that allows them to make sure that their mental health is stable, which is going to be only great for them. Shout out to my folks here from DGS. So financially cautious with finance. They prefer saving. Their visual, digital communication is fine, but they're tech savvy, diversity, and also purpose-driven work. So Gen Z, I asked them what do they want from their manager. I want someone that I can feel comfortable bringing my issues to. So you hear it right there, right? And I know that they're willing to help me out. I never wanted to be in my boss's office. If you guys know that, right? If you were in your boss's office, you were in what? Trouble. Not anymore. This generation wants to see you every week. They want to talk to you about how they can progress and become better. And to me, we have to learn from that. I wish that we had that kind of progression in my generation. So this person said, I want to offer I want someone who offers understanding, support without interference, provides structural guidance for expectations of myself and all the department, and offer valuable feedback throughout the discussion to improve my performance and professional skills. Again, feedback, feedback. So if you're not comfortable meeting with folks, and I can tell you, I was just in Lancaster working with a group, and I was telling them about giving feedback and meeting, and I had someone who just said, and this person identified as a boomer, and said, I just don't even know what to say to them. You want me to meet with them every week? What am I going to say to them? So I was like, how about just asking them some questions? Like, let's start with that. So I had to build some core questions for him to ask because he just feels uncomfortable with it. But he also recognizes this is what I need to do to maintain a strong workforce today. Okay? Also, if you have a new business that you want to pop up or a new division or a new place you want to start it, get your Gen Zs to do it. They will come. Don't give them a whole bunch of instruction. I want us to do this. Give them your vision. They'll come back and they'll just amaze you. Okay? Just that. So entrepreneurial space is where you want them. Hey, we're thinking about opening a new division here. Make sure they're on your team because they will not refer to all the things they used to do. They will actually look for things going forward. And they'll find all the used to do things even quicker because they are very tech savvy. So basically all this goes back to giving feedback. How many people here are comfortable giving feedback? Everybody says that. But until it's time to give feedback. How many here have heard of the feedback sandwich? Never deliver a feedback sandwich ever. The feedback sandwich is say something good, say what you mean, and say something good. Hey, you know what, Steve, it was great, you've been doing a great job and this, but you lost us $12 million. But other than that, you're a great employee and we appreciate you, right? It's a setup. It's like setup. So what happens when you do that? Your employee hears you saying something positive and they immediately flinch. Someone's like saying, lift up your chin real quick. Go ahead, lift it up right there. And then pow. And hey, I still like you. So don't do it. Know why people do the sandwich? Is because you're not giving enough feedback. So you feel like you have to say all the good things that you didn't say in the beginning so you can deliver the message. If you say enough and give enough feedback about positive things, you will never have to do the sandwich. And when that person comes in, you can just say, I need to give you feedback. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. On your desk, there's a little black and white piece of paper there. It has that one there has Arrived Leadership on it. Flip it over. If you flip it over, it has this on there. And this is our Courageous Conversations Baseball Diamond, something that I put together over years and years of trying to learn this. Because remember, my generation was not that. So I had to learn it and put it together. So make it really easy. When you're giving feedback, it should not take long. Because if you have a 25, 30-minute opportunity to give feedback, it should take you 5 minutes to give the feedback. The other 20 minutes is conversation about how to move forward. If you're talking 20 minutes in, you've failed, right? So this is how you do it. So let's say if I wanted to give feedback, somebody give me just a topic. Poor communication. All right, perfect. So someone sent the email out, and it was like a whole bunch of errors in it. And they CC'd the person that we were talking about. I just heard about this. Somebody just told me about one of these. So the issue is poor communication, and especially with email. First base or the facts. Go to the facts first. So yesterday you put an email out that had a lot of spelling errors, and also you added someone who was not supposed to be in the email. Impact. The impact of that is that, our reputation is at risk. And the person on the other side saw that, their feelings are hurt, and now we absolutely have to do service recovery. Past, present, this helps you lock the person in. Basically, did you do it before? In the past, I've seen your email. They look great. They were great every time, and I know you get it to the right person, so I know you can do it. Take it home to your expected behavior, which is home base. Going forward, I'd like to see your emails clear and concise, and you want to make sure you double check it before you send it out. What are your thoughts, and how can we fix that? And guess what you do after that? Quiet. Watch this. That was 6 seconds. Painful, wasn't it? That's because most people can't just sit there and observe. So after you give that feedback, quiet. And if they don't say anything, you know what you do? You sit there a little longer. And if they still don't say anything, it seems like you're thinking about this. Do you need more time to think about it? Yes. Okay, well, great. Why don't you go think about it and we'll reschedule a meeting so we can talk about how to get through it. What most people try to do is fill in the space. And so what we could do, and you're talking and all you're doing is, they're not hearing you. They hear womp, 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 Charlie Brown, right? Now, you'll see that there's some other things, and there's two things after that. The one, it says to use your 5 whys. Have you guys heard of the 5 why theory? So 5 why theory means if you ask why 5 times, you'll get to the root cause. You should be doing this before you sit down with the person. Why did they send that email out? Well, it was because I asked them. Why? Well, it was because we were having a problem with that person. Okay, so why was there error? Well, I did have them kind of stressed out. Why? Because we're about to lose a lot of money. Okay, why are we losing money? Because we didn't actually market with them properly. Who's the root cause? Market properly, right? Process before people, right? So I may still talk to that person, but I'm going into it knowing that what led you there was the rush. And so I'm trying to work with that person to figure out how we can move forward. I'm going, how do I not put them in positions where they feel pressured and they have to rush? Okay? Now, same thing, this should go for positive feedback. Let's say that same email is wonderful. Use the same thing. Because some people are more uncomfortable with positive feedback. Everybody does positive feedback as this generalization thing. Oh, you know what? You're fine. You did great. Great job. On what? Like details or matter. Because if someone does something wrong, what do? We talk to our colleagues. Man, this person messed up. Then we call HR. HR, they messed up. Then we book a meeting. They messed up. Now I'm going to write down what I'm saying. We give positive feedback. We go, good job. Have a slice of pizza. Right? So use it for positive feedback also. Same thing. Fact. The other day you sent the email out to that customer. It was perfect. Impact. The impact is they responded to us and they actually, said that they want to move forward. In the past, I know you've done a pretty good job, but this was exceptional. And the expected behavior is I want you to continue to do it because that's what's going to allow us to thrive. Okay? So as I close, I want to tell you about what makes a perfect generational manager. First, it's someone who has respect and recognition, authenticity and transparency, stability and structure. They provide regular feedback. They're technically engaged. They provide a collaborative environment, clear communication, opportunities for mentorship, flexibility and mobility. Technology is there, purpose and meaning are put in there, and they also provide autonomy and independence. What if I told you every one of these words were the things that each generation wanted? So when you think you have to go out and be something different for every one of your employees, you don't, because not one generation wouldn't want these things. So what I'll say is this. As a recap, our boomers are from job security and hierarchy. Our Gen X, independence. They like the adaptability and work-life balance. Our Gen Y, these are our tech-savvy folks that are team-oriented and they're seeking work-life balance. Our Gen X folks are the tech-savvy. They're also the ones that like diversity, and they also seek purpose in work. But each generation has distinct characteristics, but don't mean that everyone's the same. Because when in doubt, you have to do that part that I did at the end, which is text them and ask them. Ask them exactly what they want. So when in doubt, you ask. And so with this, you round the bases with our gentlemen here who are putting this on. I will say, I'll give you positive feedback rounding the bases. This has been one of the most organized conferences I've ever came to speak at. I've never been to one where, yes, give them a round of. In fact, I've never been one that had a rehearsal unless it was a big keynote and they asked me to come out. But to have everyone do a rehearsal, that was amazing. The impact of that is anyone you ask to come back will definitely come back because we'll go out and talk about it, right? I'm not sure if you did it in the past, but I know it was good in the past because my wife came and told me to come here. But it's even gotten better. So what I would recommend is that you continue to progress. And if you do that, this will be one of the most popular conferences in Delaware. And with that, I say thank you.